I never thought I'd land myself in a situation like this, but here I am. My name's David, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years. We met in college, got married right after, and for the most part, I thought we had a solid, if somewhat predictable, life together. We didn't have kids, mostly because Lisa was never the maternal type, more of a career girl who liked her independence. That was fine with me. I work as a graphic designer, and she's an editor at a publishing house. We both have pretty busy schedules, so I guess I always kind of assumed we just grew apart a little but still loved each other. The trouble started a few months ago, right around the time Lisa announced she wanted to do a writer's retreat. It was her idea. She had been talking about it for weeks, saying she needed some creative rejuvenation and time to focus on her craft. When she first mentioned it, I figured it was harmless, a weekend away to recharge her creative batteries. No big deal. But I noticed she became a little more snappish, more dismissive when I brought up her plans. And she started canceling dates at the last minute, things I thought we had planned together. She said it was work-related, that she had to meet with her publisher and go to some literary events. I didn't suspect anything at first. I mean, she's a pretty bitchy woman sometimes, always blowing things out of proportion or lying about small stuff. But I did notice her phone getting more secretive. She'd hide it when I entered the room, and her messages seemed more frequent, more urgent. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Still, I had this nagging feeling something was off. Then the weekend of her retreat arrived. She left early Friday morning, just told me she'd be gone for 3 days. She kissed me goodbye as usual, but there was a strange energy to her, like she was hiding something. I didn't think much of it at the time, just chalked it up to her being stressed or excited about her writing. I went back to work, tried to focus, but a little voice kept whispering that I should check her stuff. I didn't want to go through her things. She's always been the lying type, and I figured if I found something, it would just cause a fight I wasn't ready for. Still, I was restless. Then, late Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. I decided to just see if she left anything behind. Normally, she'd leave her phone charging on the nightstand or her tablet on the coffee table. I tiptoed into her side of the bedroom, trying not to wake her, and that's when I saw the envelope. It was tucked behind her pillow, almost like she forgot it was there. I pulled it out and saw her handwriting, her name, Lisa, scrawled across the top. Inside was a letter, or more like a note, but I didn't get to read it, because right then I spotted my laptop on the desk, open with a window still active. I was curious and a little nervous, so I peeked over. That's when I saw it. An email thread, dozens of messages exchanged between her and some guy named Jake. Their conversations weren't just friendly banter. They were flirtatious, full of suggestive comments and plans that went way beyond innocent. She was talking about meeting him after her retreat, saying she couldn't wait to see him again, and that she missed their little secret. I felt my stomach drop. My heart started pounding like a drum. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen, trying to process what I was seeing. My wife, the woman I trusted, having an affair with someone she clearly thought was her literary connection, as she called it. I felt betrayed, angry, and crushed all at once. I didn't wake her that night. I just closed the laptop softly, took a deep breath, and laid back in bed, pretending I hadn't seen anything. But I knew this was just the beginning. I had to figure out what to do next, and fast. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My mind kept circling back to those messages. I couldn't get the image of her, Lisa, sitting there, typing out flirtations to some guy she met at a writer's retreat. It was like I'd been punched in the gut, and no matter how much I tried to tell myself it wasn't real, the evidence was right there in front of me. That email thread wasn't some innocent exchange. She was planning to meet him after the retreat, and the way she talked about Jake, it wasn't just some literary crush. It was obvious there was something more going on. I kept questioning myself, wondering if I'd missed the signs or if I was just paranoid. But deep down, I knew. Women like Lisa, they don't lie that much without a reason. And she had lied to me multiple times about everything lately. Her sudden dismissiveness, her secretive behavior, her phone always in her hand and hidden away, she was hiding something. I had been too blind, or maybe just too trusting, to see it clearly. I decided I had to confront her. No more hiding in the dark. I needed answers fast. I waited until she came back from her retreat, which was supposed to be 3 days, but I knew she'd gone longer. I had my plan. I would ask her outright calmly, without accusations at first. I wanted to see how she'd react. I knew she was the type to lie her way out of anything, so I had to be prepared for her typical bullshit. When she finally walked through the door that evening, she looked exhausted but strangely triumphant, like she'd just come back from some great adventure. She threw her bags down, threw her arms around me, and kissed me cold, quick, almost dismissive. I kept my composure, but inside I was boiling. I looked her in the eyes, held her gaze, and said, "We need to talk. I saw the messages. I know what you've been doing." Her face flickered brief annoyance, then that bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she could lie her way out. "David, what are you talking about? You're overreacting. You're jealous, that's all. I told you I was at a writing retreat working on my new book. You're just being paranoid." I shook my head. "No, Lisa, I saw the emails, the way you speak to him, the plans to meet. How could you lie about this? You're telling me this is just some coincidence." She rolled her eyes, huffing like I was stupid. "Oh, please, Jake is just a friend, a fellow writer. You're so insecure, that's what this is. You always assume the worst, like I'm some kind of cheat. Well, I'm not. I was just being friendly, okay? You're reading into it way too much." But I wasn't buying it. I pressed her again, asking about the plans to meet him, about the messages. That's when she got really defensive, snapping at me, calling me crazy, saying I was jealous because I can't handle a successful, independent woman. She even tried to spin it around, accusing me of spying and invading her privacy. The more she lied, the more furious I got. It's like I was talking to a wall of bullshit. The emotional roller coaster hit me hard: shock, anger, sadness. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. It was all so sudden, so raw. I sat down on the couch, voice trembling, and asked her why she'd do this. Her only response was a few dismissive words about how she needed something more than what I'd been giving her. That moment, I felt my world crumbling. I realized I'd trusted her fully, and she'd thrown it all away for some stupid affair with a wannabe author. I wanted to scream, to yell at her, to break something, but I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I stayed silent for a while. Watching her, I saw that smug look she always had when she thought she was winning an argument, but I knew better. I knew she was lying through her teeth. The betrayal was like a poison running through me, and I couldn't think straight. I kept asking myself how it got to this point, how I didn't see the warning signs earlier. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was capable of this deception. I felt crushed, betrayed, and absolutely furious all at once. I didn't say much after that. I just told her I needed some time to think, and I walked out of the house. I didn't know what I'd do next, but I knew I couldn't stay there in that house, looking at her and pretending everything was okay. My mind was racing, trying to process. Was this the end? Could I ever trust her again? The only thing I knew for sure was that this wasn't just some fling. She was cheating on me with a guy who was supposed to be just a friend, and now everything was different. After I left the house that night, I felt like I was walking in a fog. I drove around aimlessly for a while, trying to get a grip on what I just uncovered. The anger was burning hot, but beneath that there was this overwhelming sense of betrayal that just wouldn't go away. I kept replaying her words, her excuses, how she called me insecure, how she insisted it was all just friendly. Yeah, right. I knew better now. There was no way she'd be that careless with her phone, sending those messages, planning to meet Jake if it was just harmless. I did what I knew I shouldn't have done at first, went back and looked at the email thread again, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. The messages were still there, clearly intimate, full of flirtation and plans. She called him baby, told him she missed him, said she couldn't wait to see him after her retreat. The worst part, she thought she was hiding it from everyone, but I caught her. That night I slept terribly. I kept waking up in cold sweats, thinking about the betrayal, how Lisa had always been so bitchy, so dismissive, but I never saw this coming. It was like I'd been hit by a freight train. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, to us. I kept asking myself how much of her life was a lie. Was she even loyal to me at all? I felt this deep, aching sadness that I couldn't shake. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was heartbreak. I'd invested so much into this relationship, and she'd thrown it all away for some cheap thrill with a guy who probably wasn't even worth it. The next morning, I knew I couldn't just ignore what I'd seen. I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I decided I needed proof, something concrete, something I could hold in my hands so I wouldn't be dismissed as crazy or jealous. I wanted her to see I wasn't going to be played anymore. So I went back to the house when she was at work. My hands were trembling, but I managed to grab her phone when she wasn't looking. I went through her messages, her emails, whatever I could find. And sure enough, there was more. Flirtatious texts, secretive photos, plans to meet up in the city, even a scheduled hotel reservation for their supposed date night. At that point, I knew I had enough. I snapped a few screenshots, saved everything securely, and then sat there, trying to get control of my emotions. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. All those little signs, her dismissive attitude, her lies were right in front of me. She was cheating, and she had been for months, maybe even longer. The trust I had in her shattered into 1,000 pieces. I decided I wasn't going to tiptoe around this anymore. I had to face her, fully prepared for whatever bullshit she'd try to feed me. But I also knew I'd have to be smart. She was good at lying, and I wasn't about to let her turn this around on me. I wanted to see her face when she realized I knew everything, and I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. So I waited until she came home again, knowing she'd be caught off guard. When she stepped inside, I looked her straight in the eyes and I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots. Her face went pale. At first, she denied everything, tried to act innocent, said I was crazy and paranoid. But I just kept showing her the evidence. Her mouth opened, but no words came out right away. It was like she was caught in her own web of lies. I could feel my heart pounding. My chest was tight. I wanted to scream, wanted to shake her and make her admit what she'd done. Instead, I just looked at her, feeling this strange mixture of fury, sadness, and heartbreak. I knew right then I had to decide what to do next. Do I kick her out? Do I let her try to lie her way out of it? Or do I just walk away and start over? That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about respect, trust, and whether I could ever forgive her for this kind of betrayal. When I showed her the screenshots, Lisa's face twisted into a mixture of anger and panic. She tried to brush it off, call me crazy, accuse me of invading her privacy. "You had no right," she spat, her voice sharp with contempt. "You're just jealous because I'm successful, because I have a damn life unlike you. Jake's just a friend, okay? A damn writer I met at that stupid retreat. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." I didn't buy it, not for a second. Watching her lie so effortlessly, I felt a deep, burning rage rise up. How could she be so callous, so dismissive of what she'd done? I just stared at her, my fists clenched, feeling the weight of the betrayal settle in my bones. I realized that no amount of her excuses or lies was going to fix what she'd broken. She had cheated, lied, and planned to meet another man behind my back. How could I possibly trust her again? I told her she needed to leave. Right then. No more excuses, no more bullshit. I couldn't be in the same room with her. I needed space to think, to process what I'd uncovered. She yelled, called me controlling, accused me of ruining her career and her life, but I wasn't listening anymore. I'd heard enough. I told her if she was serious about being honest, she could come back and talk to me tomorrow. Otherwise, I wanted her out of my house. As she stormed out, I felt a strange sense of relief and dread. Relief that I finally saw the truth, but dread realizing how much I had loved her, how much I had trusted her. I kept replaying her words, her lies, her accusations. I questioned everything about us, about whether there was any way to salvage what was left. I knew deep down that this was a turning point. I could either forgive her and try to rebuild, or I could end it all right then and there. Later that night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at her empty side of the bed. The silence was deafening. I felt the weight of what she'd done sinking into me, a heavy, suffocating presence. I couldn't sleep. My mind kept flashing to those messages, her face, her lies. I kept asking myself how someone I loved could do something so cruel and selfish. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust again, or if this was the end of us. In the weeks that followed, I stayed with a friend, trying to keep my head above water. Every day was a roller coaster of emotion: anger, sadness, confusion. I kept replaying everything, trying to find some reason, some excuse she might have given herself. But the truth was brutal. She wanted another life, another man, and she was willing to lie, cheat, and destroy what we had to get it. I realized I was better off without her, even if it hurt like hell to admit it. That's when I started to think about my next move. Did I confront her again? Did I just cut ties and move on? Honestly, I wasn't sure. But I knew one thing for certain: going back was not an option. I couldn't live with someone who so easily threw away the years we built together. The trust was gone, and I didn't see any way to get it back. It was the kind of pain that changes you forever. After a few days of just trying to breathe and not lose my mind, I finally decided I needed to cut all ties and get some clarity. I realized that staying in the house, waiting for her to come back, or even trying to talk again, none of that was going to fix what she'd broken. The betrayal was too fresh, too raw. I knew I had to make a clean break, at least for now, to figure out what I really wanted and what I deserved. I called a lawyer and started looking into the legal side of things, how to handle the house, finances, and everything else. It was a tough call, but I knew it was the right one. I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't want her to keep pulling the strings. She had become a stranger to me, someone I didn't recognize. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs: her dismissive attitude, her secret phone calls, the way she always brushed me off when I questioned her. It all added up now. She had been planning this for a while. I also reached out to a few friends, people I could trust, and told them what was happening. It was embarrassing, honestly. I hate feeling vulnerable, but I needed support. The reactions were mixed. Some were sympathetic, some told me I should fight for the marriage, but most just told me to do what was best for me. I knew I had to listen to myself now. My gut was telling me she wasn't the woman I thought she was. Not anymore. One of the hardest parts was seeing her face again, knowing she was probably living her own lie right now. She kept blowing up my phone, sending texts, begging me to talk, to hear her out. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I was done. I blocked her number, changed my locks, and made sure all the evidence of her betrayal was saved in case I needed it later. I wanted to make sure she knew I wasn't going to be played or manipulated anymore. The reality was sinking in slowly. I was going through a breakup of epic proportions. I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved. But somewhere inside, I also felt a strange sense of freedom. Like I'd just been released from a terrible trap I'd been blind to for too long. It was painful, but it was also necessary. I deserved better. I deserved honesty and respect, and she had proven she couldn't give me either. So now I'm in this weird space, trying to pick up the pieces of my life, learning to trust myself again. The heartbreak is still there, but I know deep down that I can come out of this stronger. I still think about her, about what I lost, but I also know I'm better off without her. I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Trust and honesty are what really matter. And when those are broken, there's no going back. You just have to pick yourself up and move forward, no matter how hard it gets. Looking back now, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me in ways I never expected. At first, I was just devastated, angry, betrayed, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. But over time, I started to understand something crucial. I had been too trusting, too naive. Lisa was good at lying, and I let her get away with it because I didn't want to confront the pain or accept what was really happening. The truth hit me hard, but it was also a wake-up call. I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough to hold a relationship together. Trust and honesty are the foundation, and once those crumble, everything else falls apart. I'll admit, it hurts every day to think about what I lost, but it also made me realize what I deserve. I deserve to be with someone who respects me, who doesn't lie behind my back or plan to cheat with some guy because they're bored or unhappy. I've started rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've gone back to my old hobbies, reconnected with friends I'd neglected, and focused on my career. I've also been working on trusting myself again, knowing I can recognize red flags early, and that I don't have to accept less than what I deserve. It's not easy, and the wounds are still fresh, but I'm getting there. One thing I want to say to anyone out there going through something similar: don't ignore the signs. Don't dismiss the little things that bother you, because they usually add up. And don't be afraid to confront the truth, no matter how painful. It's better to face it head-on than to live in denial, pretending everything's fine. Trust your gut. If someone is lying or hiding things from you, it's a sign they're not worth your time or your love. Finally, I want to say that healing is a process. Some days are better than others. Some days I feel strong, ready to move on. Other days, the pain sneaks back in, and I wonder if I'll ever fully forget. But I know now that I am enough, and I don't need someone who can't be honest with me. I'll get through this. And so will you if you're going through something similar. Trust that time heals and that you're stronger than you think.